Here she is, P. Ross.
Greetings, 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 everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross, and I am excited to be back in the studio today. I have some wonderful guests. First, I want to say hello, Miss Tameka Douglas. Thank you for coming back to be with us again in 2023.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
All right, and we have Miss Julia Douglas. She is the recipient of the Order of the Longleaf Pine Award that is presented to outstanding citizens in North Carolina. We'll get more back with we'll talk more about that a little later, but welcome to the show, Miss Douglas.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, yes. And I just want to add that she looks just like the person sitting next to her, which is Miss Douglas. And I just want to add that they are related. Mother and daughter. Mother and daughter in here with me today. Exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, OMG, the prices on eggs. A carton of eggs, a 12-dozen carton, a dozen of eggs is almost at $6. Let's talk about this.
Gosh, my gosh.
Tameka.
Yes.
Give me your thoughts on this.
I tell you, it's just amazing because I think at one time we were able to go in there and get a carton of eggs for $2 or a little over $1, sometimes less than that, depending on rebates and coupons and all that. So to go in the store now and to just get a carton of eggs and pay $4 and $5, it's crazy. And I mean, it's the nature of the time that we're living in, and I just tell you, I think that we're just gonna have to pray on through it and try to do what we can to get through these times. But it's utterly ridiculous, and certainly we've got to use those eggs in moderation.
We do. You know what? I cracked my last egg this morning, and I'm like, do I want to go out and buy another carton? I don't know. $6, $5. That's kind of steep.
Yes.
But I mean, we need eggs, don't we? I mean,
certain things. Yes.
I think certain people will tell you, like vegans. I don't know what they eat and what they don't eat, but you know, those type of people that watch certain diets or whatever, they'll probably tell you we don't need eggs, but I think we do. I looked up why we're in such a what's going on, what's causing these eggs to be so costly, the spike in the price. Well, it appears that there's some type of flu that has hit the birds. Avian influenza is what have attacked the birds here within the last few months. And this illness primarily, excuse me, I cannot talk today. This illness has caused a mortality rate in the birds, so with chickens. And this is why there is a shortage on the eggs, from what I understand, and that's why the prices have risen. So, Miss Julia, I know some of your background includes food and nutrition. Are there any substitutes out there that we can do if we can't just afford the egg?
Just not a substitute. Just stop eating them. Eggs is not as good as you think they are or will put out to be for you, really.
Okay.
If you just, sometime they need to maybe Google it up or read about eggs. Now, we're good for putting them in our cakes and other foods, that cornbread or whatever. But that's good because you're not just scrambling 3 or 4 eggs, eating them. That's when it's not that healthy for your body. Substitute for eggs, I do not know.
Okay.
What you could substitute for an egg. But just not eat them.
Okay. All right. Yep. I have gone plenty of times without eating eggs. You know, it's not something that you actually need to eat, but you know, hey, but you know, in cooking and recipes, now I have heard that like maybe use more oil or use oil, and I've heard applesauce at one time. And as I was looking up what the problem is on the eggs, I saw that flax seeds, which I don't know a whole lot about flax seeds. I've heard of flax seeds, but flax seeds can also be a substitute for eggs. So, Eggs. What are you doing in the egg crisis? Give us a call at 919-899-9305. Let us know what your ideas are if you'd like to join in and chat with us today. In world news today, or not world news, in other news, we heard that Miss Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley, has passed away. We send our condolences to her family and friends. She was loved by many, and she unfortunately had some type of, I believe, heart attack or cardiac arrest on January the 12th. And we also know that she is the former wife of the great late Michael Jackson. I'm not going to say I was an Elvis Presley fan, but I grew up watching Elvis Presley. He passed away, unfortunately, on my birthday. I think I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And I remember him, the whole thing behind him and that. But Lisa Marie Presley, we are sad to hear that she has left us. Also, I don't know if you two are familiar with Miss Holla. Do you know who I'm referring to? The internet sensation,
Yes.
Mother Holla or Grandma Holla?
I am. I saw a couple of videos and just the whole, she was all over social media, and I would see little videos and people would send me stuff on her. So I am familiar with her.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know who she was, Miss Holla, also known as Grandma Holla, also known as Queen Holla. She was an older woman, age 97, who went viral via social media, TikTok, and those things because of her brash way of responding to things she didn't quite understand, or just on her advice on relationships and on celebrity news that she heard. Like I said, she went viral, but she was a special education teacher, and her real name is Helen Davis. So we offer our condolences to Grandma Holla, who passed away a few days ago. All right, so MLK, Martin Luther King Day, we had that last week. Yes. Martin Luther King, the MLK March, all over the nation. He was a drum major for nonviolent activism. Absolutely. He stood tall in that era of the civil rights movement, and we wanted to touch a little bit on that today. I thought it would be appropriate to have someone, Miss Douglas, Miss Julia Douglas, to kind of touch on that with us a little bit. And the reason why I say that, because the civil rights movement was in the I think it started in 1954 up through 1968. And I just wanted to hear your experiences during that era for you at the time that Martin Luther King was coming up and marching for civil rights, or doing his best to squash racism and unequal rights for people of color. Tell us about what you remember from back then, Miss Julia.
Okay. When I remember this was 68. I graduated from high school in 69. So I remember a lot of this, but wasn't into it because I had just graduated from high school and still was young. But he was such an activist. He was powerful. We talked about him in school, and as the time of him doing what he was doing, you could slightly see changes going on within the school. I didn't go to a consolidated school, so I really didn't have a lot of problems, but I saw and read about things that he was doing, and I learned more about him later than I did at that time, 69, in the year of the 60s, when I graduated. And he was so powerful. And I even been to the place in Tennessee, went there to view where he passed away, where he got killed. I went there, and they still have it set up. If they still have it set up now, it's the time is when he passed. But I remember the teachers would talk about him, and that He had a lot of things, people against him and what he stood for. He was a pastor, and I read up a lot about his pastoring, and I think the most powerful message that he had talked about, it's in my head now, it's trying to fade away, is that I had a dream.
I have a dream,
and that
yes.
was powerful, and that's still, was going over that yesterday.
Yes,
but
I have a dream.
That's still very strong today, and still they talk about it a little bit in schools today, and especially around in January. You hear more about it, talked about it, and more act out in January, his month, the month they set aside for him. And just the children, I kept up with some of his children and his wife, that she carried on his legacy for a while. She did, carry on for a while, but I can say, since Dr. Martin King, that I knew nobody else that really walked so strongly in his footsteps behind him. I can't recall anyone that came up behind him that stood for as much and did as much as he did, because we know he was incarcerated and beat upon, children was at that damn time, and wife, the house was threatened at that time, and but a lot of things that he said. I know the part in his dream, I can't think about it, where he said that he would see, well, I'll just put it in my words, where he would see the white kids and the black kids holding hands with each other and playing with each other and getting along with each other. Well, we see that dream has came true.
Yes.
And, and I thank God for that. And that's pretty much, I just remember him as being a great man and made a great difference for today, that even in 2023, some of the things he did.
Yes. Now, you mentioned the Lorraine Motel, I think, and that's in, was that Tennessee?
Tennessee.
Yes.
Tennessee, yes. I've been to the King Center in Atlanta, breathtaking experience. I've been to the King Memorial in Washington, D.C., another breathtaking experience. But that's one of my places to visit. I would like to visit, and that is in where you have gone, in Tennessee.
Yes, I have been to that place in Washington as well. We pretty much go to all the places, And if you notice, there's a lot of places and streets that's named after Martin Luther.
Oh, yeah.
And the statue, which is in Raleigh, So I've been to all those places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems that we have a call. One moment, please. Caller, you're on the air. Thank you for calling Chat City. Caller, you're on the air. Thank you for calling Chat City. State your name and where you're calling from. Okay. No caller. All right. Yeah. So one of the things I have longed to do, and that's doing one of the marches. I've watched so many people do that so many different times. I thought I was going to be able to do it this year, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. But I think that's just as important too. Somebody to lose their life at such a young age, standing for freedoms for all people, and social and political. That social political campaign that like I said, he risked his life for, and his family standing by him and allowing him to go and do these things. It says a lot. It means a lot, and keeping the dream alive, I think, is very, very important for all of us.
Yes, it is.
Not just one group of people, but all of us. Yes. I can remember, because some may argue, is that even really needed today? We've come a long way since 1968. Integration is here and that type of thing. But I can remember being a teenager in Carthage, North Carolina, there to get my recommended shots for college. And I remember sitting in the clinic there, and Carthage is the county seat of Moore County. All right, so that was 35 years ago. I remember looking at the bathroom door and seeing where there once was a sign that said colors only, and same thing around the water fountain. I mean, even though there was a new sign there, nobody tried to cover up the faded sign that was posted on the door. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, wow, Hadn't experienced anything, today. And today, it said a lot of it is, but just think back then in 1987, I would have thought that would have been changed by that time. But
You would think.
it is what it is.
Yes.
Or it was what it was. There's a new statue. I don't know if you guys seen this statue created by Hank Willis Thomas. And this statue or this monument is in, let's see, what state is this in? I don't know. I forgot here and I don't have it in my notes. But anyway, I've seen it. And it's supposed to, the statue is called The Embrace. And when you look at it, you have to kind of study it a little bit.
You do.
And you're like, what is this? What is this? Because a lot of people are mistaking it for a male body part. I'll put it like that. And a lot of people, they're giving this statue backlash because they're saying, this is awful. This is not a great representation of King and Mrs. King. But it's depicting, or it was inspired by the photograph taken of Martin Luther King after he won the Nobel Peace Prize. His wife embraces him, and that's what the artist captured and decided to make this into a 20-foot tall, 40-foot wide statue that's getting a lot of backlash. Tameka, you're nodding your head like, yes, I've seen it. Give me your thoughts on it.
I have seen it, and when I looked at it initially, I was thinking, "What in the world is this?" And when I viewed one of the pictures, the picture of he and his wife embracing after his being the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, I kind of understood it a little bit better. But it is something you certainly have to study. I think just in the creation of the statue, maybe things could have been done a little different in terms of the design so that you wouldn't have to guess or try to figure out what it is. But it has certainly gotten a lot of backlash. I've seen it all over the internet. Yes.
Do you think they should take it down?
I don't think it should necessarily be taken down. I think anything that we can do to just to reflect upon such a great man is a good thing. But I do think maybe perhaps if something could be done a little differently. I mean, maybe modifications to it, because again, it doesn't necessarily, even though the picture is what it should reflect, you don't see that when you first look at it. So there's a lot of explaining that has to be done for people to see the intent, I guess, of the designer of the statue.
Right.
A lot of explaining that would have to be done.
I mean, we have a lot of abstract art in the world, and it's up to the artist what he wants or she wants to do, I feel like. And I mean, yes, we can be very critical of anybody's work, but if you capture the essence of what they were trying to do, I think you'll, as they say, have an open mind about those type of things. Yep. So anyway, moving right along. As I mentioned before, and if you're just tuning in, I have in the studio with me today Tameka Douglas, social worker and evangelist, and her lovely mother today, who is the recipient, a 1920 recipient of the Longleaf Pine Award, Miss Julia Douglas. And we have them here on Chat City at Oak 93.5. It's a pleasure to have them here with me today. Miss Julia Douglas is an extraordinary woman of faith. She's a mother of 3 children, a retiree from long-time employment with First Health of the Carolinas in Pinehurst, North Carolina. And she's also have been known for doing outstanding community work with the elderly citizens in her community. To me, she's also a classy woman. She fascinates me with her fashion and just how she walks with elegance and how she keeps herself. Thank you for coming again today, Miss Douglas. And most importantly, congratulations on your award. Now, Miss Douglas won this award because, let's go back to what the Longleaf Pine Award is. It is it's recognition from the state of North Carolina made by the governor, and at this particular time, Governor Roy Cooper. And this award just highlights anyone who has made extraordinary feats, they've done extraordinary things in their communities. And one of the things that Miss Douglas has done, she has helped foster 100 children. 100 children. She has brought 100 children, foster care children, in her home. So we wanted to touch a little bit today on foster care, but we want to go back to Miss Douglas and ask her, how did all of this begin for you?
Okay, the foster care.
Foster care, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, it started out with two relative children. It started out with two of my kin. And I was taking care of them, and I had to go to social services for Medicaid, to get Medicaid for them, because I couldn't afford the medicine. I tried, but oh my God. But anyway, at that time, I the caseworker, she and I sat there and we talked and we talked and we talked. And she was so sweet, and we just talked forever. And she said, well, why don't you apply for foster care? And I said, foster care? You know, I didn't know much about it at all. Heard it every now and then. And so I said, what I have to do? And so she told me what I had to do. I had to go to classes. And so I went to the classes. They come inspect your home and everything. And so I was approved. So that's what got me started. And then, of course, they would come and visit your home ever so often and see how things. And they would always say, the teachers would, they call the school or whatever. The teachers would tell them, oh, they're the neatest kids in the class, and she's always concerned and about the children. And so that interested her. And of course, she called and offered me to keep more kids. And so, and not to say, go back to the beginning, I love children, even today. I even thought about it when I retired.
All right.
Oh, my goodness. You mess with children, you're messing with me. It's just that. I just love them. And so things when she asked me, and I'm going like, well, what's wrong? And then she would tell me what was going on in the home. And of course, it break my heart, and stuff. I'm sure a lot of people listening know about foster children and foster care. They're in there for a reason. And so I did. I said, okay, I guess. I said, but I got these two kids and I want to be, focused on them. I don't want to get too many that I can't focus, focus on these two kids. I want to do right. And so she said, for a short time, took them in, and then would get that one to wherever they would find a safe raven for that child, or either will go back to their parents or whatever. Then it continued. It started like that. One child after another, after another, after another, sometimes two.
Okay, so once that social worker knew that, okay, she did well with these first two children, so they called you and said, hey, we need two more. How long did the first two children stay with you?
I raised them.
You raised them?
I raised them.
Okay,
yeah.
Until adulthood?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
College and all.
Okay,
yes.
So now, we also mentioned that you have three children, three
yes.
lovely children.
Yes.
And what were your children thinking at the time when you brought in two other children?
Oh my gosh. It's really amazing and a blessing as well. The kids connected with the kids just like they were brothers and sisters.
Okay.
And I know I'm thinking I would sit down and have a talk with them. I say, now look, these kids got a problem and it could be you. I said, you could be that child. So you treat them, you don't call them a foster child. You don't call them names. You treat them right. I remember having that talk with them. Never had a problem. Never had a problem with, I can't even remember any of them fighting. I mean, these are children, but I don't even remember any of them fighting. And if they did it when I wasn't home or something like that, And there was girls there. I mostly took in girls.
Okay.
I would mostly take girls because I'm a woman, so I didn't want to, especially if it was a teenage boy or something of that type. And I'm sure there was times when they, would get angry or look at each other funny or something like that or say something. But unless I'm having a memory lapse, I don't remember any of that. You know, it was a blessing. It really was.
Tameka, let's hear your end of it, being the child at home and seeing new children coming in and out of your door.
For me, I would say it was a pleasant experience. By that time, I was a little growing into my maybe preteen or in my teenage years, so I was a little older. So it wasn't a situation where you're young baby or you're real young, and so you have to kind of fight for attention and all that. So by that time, I was in an age where I'm in high school or on my way to high school, involved in activities and kind of doing my own thing. So for me, it was an opportunity to be of a help to someone else who was in need. And so again, that conversation took place about the children who were coming into the home and that there was a need there. And so just kind of being taught that early on gave me an understanding of how I should respond and how I should treat people. And then the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated. So for me, I just recall it being a good experience during that time. And then, of course, she continued to do it as I went on off to college and all of that. So I can remember it being a pleasant experience, being able to have someone else there and to be able to help another person or another child that needed someone, whether it was temporarily or long term.
Okay. Miss Julia. And I'm going to say Miss Julia and I'll say Tameka because I don't want to confuse any of you when I say Miss Douglas. Okay, Miss Julia.
That's okay.
What was the saddest moment that you could remember with one of your children that you brought into your home?
Okay. My, sad. The first, it wasn't really sad though. Let's see. Okay. I had some that had to go back into a bad situation.
Wow.
You know, and I knew that situation was not good. They were going back into, and that kind of broke my heart, but it was nothing I could do about it. I always gave them my number and said, call me if you ever need me. I'm still connected with some of them today, you know. And so that was very sad for me to let some of them go back, and I didn't do it. This is done through social services. Go back into a situation where I knew it was a bad situation that they were going back into. That was a sad moment. But most of them was pretty much had gotten grown, and you know, when they went back, they didn't know. Not a lot of them didn't go back to the situation that they came out of. So that was good for me. But there was a time a few of them went back to the situation they left from.
Can you give us some examples of some of the type situations those children had to go through to be placed in foster care?
Yes. I remember this one young man, and because I didn't have many guys at all, young boys at all, maybe 2 or 3. And we was talking one day. We standing in the kitchen. We were talking, and he said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" And I was cooking. He said, "I stabbed my mom's boyfriend." And so, I mean, I'm going, like, you should saw my face. I'm going like, oh my God. But I stayed, you know, cool. So I turned around. I said, well, why? Why did you do that? You know, he said, because I told him he was beat my mom all the time. He was really just punch her and knock her. And I told him the next time he'd do that I was going to kill him, literally kill him. I said, so where did you stab him? He said, well, like in the knee. He said, so I said, so was you trying to kill him? You know, like, he said, no, not in the knee, Miss Douglas. He started laughing. But he said, but he had on white shoes and blood was on his white shoes. And I just laughed, you know, and that was really sad, you know, for me. Of course, now in a situation like that, I had to talk because a lot of times you don't get 100% information on these kids.
Oh, okay.
Supposed to give it to you, but you don't get it all. So the next day I had to talk to the caseworker, and I asked him to that's probably the only one I asked to be removed because of the of what he did. I kind of understood his reaction, but I couldn't let him stay there, you know, because what he had done. But other situations, there was this young girl, and her mom had put her out because she was talking. She's beautiful, beautiful young lady, talking to black guys, and her mom didn't want her to talk to black guys. So she actually put her out, and I'm going like, what mom would do that? And that touched me. That hurt me because literally she would not, long as she would talk to black guys, her mom said she could not come under her roof again. So I'm trying to think what happened to her. When she had gotten up in age with me. She stayed about 2 years.
Okay.
And when she left, she didn't go back to the mom. I think she left and went to a relative that took her because she was of age to make a decision where she wanted to go.
Now, I've heard a lot of these children that come from homes and have to be placed in foster care are unruly. Do you find that to be true most of the time? Or if so, how do you handle that?
Okay, unruly. I'm thinking I was just so blessed. I really was with these children. Either it was just something because I've never, not one of them cussed me or fussed me or kicked doors or walls or anything. But some have come to me and they have on their record that was some of the case that they may get loud or something of that sort. But none of them never really did that. Can you remember?
No.
Because I mean, seriously, I'm thinking maybe I forgot something, overlooking something, but I really didn't. They were all very good. But I will say in the beginning, when these kids came to me, most of them, they have meetings and things, the foster kids. They have meetings with foster kids. So foster kids knew more about your name there. So they kind of knew from talking to another foster child and talking to another foster child. So they probably talked to someone that had been under my roof because some have came to me and said, well, Miss Douglas, we were told when we come to your house that we are going to go to church. I said, well, yeah, I'm afraid so.
Yeah.
So I had only came to one child that said he didn't want to go to church. I said, well, what's your preference? I will take you where you want to go, drop you off there. You don't, I'm forced nobody to go to church. But they came in and that was another good thing. They wanted to go. And so I forgot. I think he didn't want to go. So I put him in respite while I was at church. That's a place you go and just for a few hours or whatever like that. Some people do that. And so until I came back home or whatever. But as far as them being, and some have come from some terrible situations as far as mom boyfriend molesting them, mom beating them with a bat. They would, because they were caught in her house, maybe one girl caught in the house with a boyfriend, and the mom came home and she beat her with a bat, and she had to run out the door with no clothes on down the street. It's all kinds of situations so where mom paying more attention to the boyfriend and neglecting them, and they were hungry, didn't have anything to eat. Such as, like I said, didn't want the young lady mom didn't want her to talk to a black guy. That was so. But those were probably the worst situation of the children that I had under my roof. Most of them was beaten by parents, beaten by boyfriends, molested by boyfriends, molested by daddy, and things of that sort. Those were pretty much basic the situations that I had.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross, and we are talking to Miss Julia Douglas. She is the recipient of the 2020 Longleaf Pine Award, and that was administered by the governor of this state, Governor Roy Cooper, and we are just talking about why she received that award at that time. She was recognized for foster care for over 100 children or 100 children. All right. Miss Douglas, tell me, or Miss Julia, if you would tell me, what is the best moment you can remember
with the kids?
With the kids,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, times when I took them, I treat them just like my own. We went to recreational places. You have to call. At that time, you have to ask, could you go out of town with them? And so I took them to recreation places and oh gosh. And times when I would just buy them new clothes and and they would put on these new clothes and these new shoes, and I can almost get choked up over it now. They will be so happy, so excited, that they had something new on or something like that. And then times that you would take them to the restaurant and just buy them what they want to eat, things like that. And then they would go to church. Some would sing in the choir, just do things that they didn't get done at home. Pretty much anything that they didn't get done at home, and saying they wasn't get treated any kind of way at home. They were just left on their own to fend for themselves. But the happiest time, I think, was when I would put new outfits on them and dress them up. They were just so excited, overwhelmed. Look at my shoes. They would walk around the house and look down at their shoes.
Oh, I bet that was a beautiful moment for
Touching
them.
moments, yes.
Yes. Let me ask you this. Have you had any encounters with any of the parents of the children you had to foster?
During that time?
Yes, or even afterwards.
Okay. Like I said, I met with the young lady's mom before, and stuff, because she had permission to come sometime. We'd not come to the house. We would meet somewhere so she could meet with her daughter and things like that. But most of them didn't. And one lady, I did invite her into because you don't have to invite them to your home. You can meet them somewhere. One lady, I kind of knew of her. So I would invite her to the home. She would come to the home, and we became friends. We became friends. And the other ones, I can remember, we became friends, and friends to the day. We talk, call each other at random, and some of the children call us at random. And never had an encounter. I'm trying to think, too, on that.
Did any of them, I'm sure, because you're such a wonderful woman, none of them ever showed any jealousy or had anything negative to say about you keeping their children.
Yeah, that's what
right?
I'm trying to think of that. If they, some could have came in, well, I don't want my daughter going here, and I don't want my child doing this and that. I can't recall anybody coming in saying, are you teaching my child? It's not even to the point to where they said, I don't want my child going to church. Never had that. So I can't recall.
Tell us about the day when you were told you are a recipient of this award, this prestigious award.
I'm laughing, Pauline. It came through the mail.
Okay.
And and I had read it, and this lady over here on my left, she kind of recommended this, and she got in touch with the hospital and the CEO and all them up there in personnel, and that's over, and I worked over in that section. They all wrote comments about me and did all this and that. And when I opened it up, I was reading it. I said, oh, wow, Governor Cooper, wow. All I was saying was, wow, in reading. I said, this is very nice. And just like this is very nice. And I think what really opened my eyes to this is that I was sitting on the couch one day, and my supervisor, state supervisor, Mother Harrison Keys, called me. And she said, missionary, she had heard about it. She said, do you know what you got? I said, well, yeah. She said, do you really know what you got? I said, at that time, I said, because I know I just said, okay, this is nice, and it was nice. I said, well, no, not really. So she broke it down to me. She said, in the state, at that time, she said, in the state, she could only recall 3 people that has received this. And that was my bishop, another lady, and me. Okay. And so that opened my eyes a little bit. I'm going like, wow. She said, this is not given to anyone. She said, you got to be, kind of top notch for the governor. She said, the governor took time and read this and sent this to you. She said, many people don't get it. So after that, my eyes opened wider. I said, oh my gosh, me, little old me, so that's really what opened my eyes with it. And what a blessing that, when they said that, she said, many people don't get this at all.
Right.
She said, they just don't issue this out to people, anybody. So I just
Well, let me
flabbergasted.
tell you who you rank with, because there
Okay.
are some other big names that have received this award. Okay, Dr. Maya Angelou,
Oh my God.
Dale Earnhardt, race car driver,
Yeah, no damn.
Michael Jordan, and Reverend Billy Graham. So,
Whoa.
Miss Lady, yes. And you mentioned missionary, so you are a woman of faith,
Awesome.
a great woman of faith, as I mentioned earlier. And I wasn't quite sure if your title, when it comes to, I wasn't sure if you were evangelist as well or missionary, so I didn't want to say that wrong.
Yeah.
So if you tell me a little bit more about your belief and your background.
Okay. Well, I am a missionary, Church of God in Christ, and my belief is pretty much, well, going along with evangelist sitting over here. Just believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I just believe in holiness all the way, and that you gotta walk the straight and narrow, and we out here. God gave His Son for us, not to just get on it and sit on it, but He gave His Son for us to go out and witness to everyone and tell them about the goodness of Christ. And that's the only way that we're going to see Him. We have to give our life to Christ. We have to die with this life that we were given and accept Christ into our life. And I truly believe that, and I just believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and holiness is the way.
How long have you been a Christian?
Ooh. I'm going to guess at it because I see this picture with the children on there and they were little. And so I'm going to guess it's been over 50 years, would
Over
you
50
say?
years.
Very much over 50 years.
All right. Well, we love that. Spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. All right. I see that you love to travel as well. I believe, did you go on a trip late within the last couple of months out of the country? Was that you, a part of that? That trip? Not you?
Not out of the country.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I was looking at Tameka's
Papa's Tameka.
photographs and stuff. Okay. All right. Yeah, but you do love to travel, I do believe. Is that right?
You know something? People, you would think I love to travel, but I'm a homebody.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can stay in my house 24/7, but we travel a lot. We travel and I enjoy it. I don't love it. I enjoy it.
You enjoy it. Okay.
Yeah, and it's a blessing. Yeah,
Okay.
the last place we went was for Christmas was Orlando for the
Okay.
Christmas.
Okay. All right. Now, we mentioned that you spent a lot of time, or you had a long career path with First Health of the Carolinas in food and nutrition. I worked there briefly for a short period of time, and I used to just love to see Miss Julia come around. Everybody, hey, Miss Julia. I mean, we all stood at attention when she came around the corner, and she was just so elegant, just doing her little thing. And Julia's Kitchen. They had a spot down there in the whole hospital for her. I mean, and it's called Julia's Kitchen. And I remember the first time they was like, you need to go take this down to Julia's Kitchen. I was like, where's Julia's Kitchen? What are you talking about? And they told me how to get there. Just go down there. And when I got down there, Miss Julia was standing there. And I can't remember what it was they asked me to deliver down there. But I was like, it was such a delight to see her there. I said, okay, I get it now. Julia's Kitchen. Yes, yes. Tell us about your now I'm one that kind of jump around from career to career to career. But you maintained a career with First Health of the Carolinas for how long?
It's 42 years.
42 years.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
So one of my problems, and I'm sad to say, one of my problems is just kind of getting along with people in the workplace. What is the secret of doing that? Missionary Julia. What is the secret? Because I mean, I can try hard and I give it my best. Well, tell us what we need to do.
I feel you. I understand you. I've been there. I've done it. Okay, all that. Okay, needless to say. Okay, I was on that job 42 years. Okay. So that leads me to go back to say 42, I wasn't saved, okay, when I started that job. So this has happened to me.
Okay.
So it have to be, I was on that job a few years, so I say 45 years of salvation. So when I first started there, it was a lot of stuff going on that I didn't believe in. Like some was treated better than others and things of that sort. And I always thought that we all are somebody. I don't care who you are, what you got, what you look at. We all are somebody. And I'm just going to, the person that's, I'm going to be treated just as good as anybody else. You're not going to treat me any kind of way. And so I went in with that. That was just me and me going in. But I had some problems with management. And that was because management had problems of the problems of what I just described to you. And so I kind of would go to them. I'm a person that'll go to you and tell you, you know, this is not right. This is not right. This is not done right. And then you had some of the supervisors, if you've been there for a while, that you had their little picks or whatever like that. I was happened to be very good at my position. So when you walk in and you're good at what you do, you won't get too much harassment. Not by the supervisors. You get to harassment by the people, the workers. 9 times into and it's the workers that you had the problem with. But through the years, didn't take me long to get to where everybody. Well, for one thing, I respected everybody. I went in. I respected the pot washer, the whomever. I would go back there and say, because people would go back there and just throw things back there, boom, throw things back there. And I would say, do this go here? Where do you want me to put this? And I respected everybody. And once you give respect, you will receive it. Somebody don't want to give it, but some would receive it. You would receive the respect, and they would give it back. So that's pretty much how I made it through there, through my unsaved part. But once I became saved, I'm just going to take it. Once I became saved, it became much easier to walk the walk. You know, it became much easier, and it seemed like when I did, people became even more respectful. And they did that because I was really walking what I had, walking and showing the title that I was, because it wasn't long before, you know, the news of the word got out. Oh, she's a missionary. Oh, she this and she that, she this, she that. And then you get some on the workforce that was going to try you and see what you are on the inside. But once you like kind of put them into their place and say it in a respectful way, you won't have problems with that person anymore. Then it came to the point to where people was coming over to me, asking me advice, coming over to, like you said, to Julia's kitchen, and knocking on the door. I could get them all day. People would get hard upstairs over there where I was in the positions, and they would come and knock on the door and say, pray for me. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. So I didn't have a whole bunch of problems. I'm trying to see, was I ever called to the office for anything?
Well, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to mention that Julia's Kitchen was not just a kitchen. It was a nice dining facility where the elite of the hospital, I would say, a lot of times will go have maybe meetings, formal meetings, and just a variety of things there in that area. They left Miss Julia in charge. They felt that she was capable of doing everything in leadership position down there, and that's what they did. They left her there to do that, and it became Julia's Kitchen. Yes.
I love that little place. A lot of prayer and a lot of singing and everything else going on in that place, because I worked by myself, and I could just pray and read my scripture on my break. And I remember being called to the office at one time over in the place where I work at. It was I was doing a catering, and this one here, bless her heart, she was a hard notch, and I already knew about her. People had already told me about her, and something wasn't. It was something she had asked for. It wasn't on me, but I set it up so the cook didn't do something she had asked for. I said, well, you didn't ask for that. I said, they said that you asked for this. I did not. I said, well, you, first of all, I'm not raising my voice at you. Do not raise your voice at me. And I will look
all
people
right
straight. I'm a look you straight in the eye type person. You're going to treat me the way I treat you. And so and I know she had never been, I know her. I know she had never been talked to like that before. I said, so you're not going to talk to me like this, okay? Well, they better get it straight. Okay. I said, well, He will get it straight. Well, you need to go over there. I said, no, I don't need to do anything but finish doing what I'm doing. You need to go back and let me do my job. She went straight to the boss, which was upstairs. It wasn't my boss. It was like, I forgot what he was. I'm not going to call his name. He's still there now. But he called me up to his office, and he knew me. He said, Julia, he said, what's going on? So I told him what happened. He knew her as well. She had the record for being a bad person. And so I told him what had happened. And so he said, okay. He said, are you okay? That's all he said was, okay. Are you okay? I said, let me tell you something. I learned a long time ago not to let nobody make your day. I said, I'm going to make my own day. And she's forgotten. He said, repeat that. I said, don't you ever let nobody make your day. I said, this could be your last day on earth. I said, so don't let nobody take over your day and mess it up, have you all mad, all saying things you don't want to say. He said, thank you. I'm going to use that.
Yes, and
that was
words to stand on right there. I just also want to add guidelines on how to build career longevity in the workplace. Control what you can control. Manage resources wisely. Do complete work. Learn how to get along. And stay curious.
Woo,
all right.
good.
You've been listening to Chat City with P. Ross on Oak 93.5 WRLY Raleigh. We're coming to the close of our show. We've had with us Miss Julia Douglas, recipient of the Order of the Longleaf Pine Award, presented by the governor of this state, Roy Cooper, and Miss Tameka Douglas, social worker, daughter of Julia Douglas, and evangelist. Tameka, give us a good summation of who Julia Douglas is.
Okay, that's easy to do. I would certainly say a woman of wisdom, a woman of God, nurturer, a servant, caring, a giver, hard worker. That's, of course, she's shown that by working as long as she did. And what she didn't add in there, and I can remember as really at my probably approaching teen, well, maybe early teen years, I remember her a time or two working a second job.
Wow.
She would pick up part-time jobs here or there, whether it was seasonal and that type of thing. And so that's certainly something I would like to say. So when I think about coming from the hospital, getting up early in the mornings, and then doing the second job thing, so she has done that throughout her tenure in working. So I would say that's why I'd say hard worker. And when I think about those early cold mornings, getting up, going to the hospital, and all of that, so definitely hard worker. And so those are some of the things I would say certainly summarizes her and who she is.
Okay. And could you tell us a little bit more how we can, what we can do if we're interested in foster care, maybe what steps we need to take in helping with that?
Absolutely, and I think it's great for people to foster. And I didn't mention this, but one of the things that had me desiring to do foster care, which I did myself in my early 20s, and had a wonderful experience doing it, was my experience in living in a household where children were fostered. So it's certainly an impactful thing that impacts, I think, the life of the foster parent and the child. And so you would want to reach out to your local social services agency. That's a start, and there you can obtain trainings. Of course, they do all the background checks and all of that, and provide you with the information to get started and to get licensed as a foster parent. So that's kind of your starting point. And we do have the private agencies as well, because we have something called, in addition to your traditional foster care, there's therapeutic foster care, which is typically governed by some of the private agencies.
Okay,
So
great.
that's a good start.
Awesome. Miss Douglas, I also mentioned, Miss Julia, Missionary Julia. I've mentioned that you're, I love your fashion. I love to watch you dress. I mean, not that I love to watch you dress. I like your clothes. I like how you dress.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
I want to know, where do you shop? What fashion and beauty tips do you have for us here on Chat City today? Because I could use some.
Girl, I tell you, it's really hard. I shop all over, and at one time I do more shopping. Like I said, we travel a lot, so we had some spots that we would hit all the time in Atlanta.
Okay.
And after that, I order some things, not much, because ordering sometimes things don't look the way when you order, and pretty much. One of my favorite spots went out of business, which was Steinmark. Oh my goodness. And I used to stay there all the time. And I'm still wearing, I pulled out a coat yesterday from Steinmark, and the tags is still on it. Forgot I had it. And they had such good clothes, that quality clothes. But literally, I shop all over. I go to Belts sometimes. I go Macy's. I love Macy's.
Okay.
I've gotten into Macy's a lot. And that's pretty. And other than that, it would be when we travel, I would go out of town, especially to get I would get suits. I would when we knew we was going out of town, I would save money so I could buy 3 or 4 suits like that. Then you're good to go for a while. But that's pretty much it. And I just throw things on. I literally don't take up much time with clothes. This morning, I took up the longest time, I think. And still, I came out the door and wanted to go back in and change the top, but to come on here. But I literally do not take up a lot of time with clothes. I just do it. But I go back to my mom. My mom used to get a lot of compliments about her dress and her dressing and things like that. So I probably may have got it from Mama.
Okay. And I'm going to say your daughters have gotten it from you. Mama passed it to you, and you passed it down to them because they dress so well and elegantly as well, too.
Thank you
Shout
so
out
much.
to Tanisha. Shout out to Omar.
Yay.
We love you here, too,
Yes,
and I love
Omar.
you. And I know you're probably watching or listening. We're at the close of our show. Thank you for coming on Chat City today, being our guest, and I would love to have you back at another time.
Thank you. Love to come back. Thank you.
All right. If you missed all of this in its entirety, you can go back on Oak 93.5 Facebook page and watch it. Thank you. We'll be back here again next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great week.
Booming from Linwood, this is WRLYLP Raleigh.